Hey folks, Rick Berube here for another Facebook Live on this wonderful Thursday. Thankful Thursday, Paul, isn't it? Yes, it is. I believe it is. All right, and today we are very lucky to have Mary and Josh Marx with us from the Indian Wells office, the number 8 team out there in the desert. Welcome, folks. Welcome to the show. All right, so let's start off, Mary, with you. Let's tell us, because I know that you are, more of the veteran in the business. So tell us a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, all that good stuff, please.
Well, just a quick snapshot. I got into real estate in 1979, so like 40 plus years, but primarily commercial real estate, based in originally Phoenix and then Los Angeles. Really this whole entree into the residential world came as a result of moving here to the desert full time about 5.5 years ago. And the thought was that I was going to get out of commercial and dabble in residential real estate just for fun in my second life. And I discovered very quickly that I don't dabble well. And I just all in. And so here we are. And this past year, my son Josh has relocated his family from LA and has chosen to make the same switch. He also was in commercial real estate in Los Angeles. And so here we are as the Marx Real Estate Group.
Awesome. Love it. She has bad dabble genes. She has to just jump right in. I love it. It's okay to have bad dabble genes. All right, Josh, and you move from, let's face it, that's a good move, right? LA, desert's awesome.
I love it. I love the lifestyle. I have 2 young kids and, a wife. And so I moved the family down here for a little bit of tranquility. That 405 was, crushing my soul every day. So, I have no complaints. But I, too, spent, 18 years in commercial real estate, primarily doing asset management, leasing, and some property management. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to team up with my mom and see where this thing takes us.
Isn't that great? And you get to work with your mom every day. That's awesome. Good stuff.
She's been my mentor through my whole career. So now to be, side by side with her, it's been a
very
fun
nice, Mary. This is a very nice son. I can tell already. And talk about, Josh, have you noticed, and Mary, you too, have you noticed that commercial, less emotion, residential, sometimes a lot of emotion, right?
Yes.
I think that's been my biggest challenge, so far, in making this transition is I'm used to looking at cap rates, I'm used to looking at financial, balance sheets and income statements and so on and so forth. And it just, how does it pencil? And you move on to the next decision where, being in residential is highly more emotional. And, sometimes you're acting as a, putting on your therapist hat and working that channel as well as the real estate element. So, that's something I've learned pretty quickly in a short period of time.
Yeah. By the backdrop you have behind you, Josh, I would say you're fitting right in. I'm look at the sky and the.
By the way, in the concrete jungle of LA, that's for sure.
By the way, I just want to compliment you on one incredible hairdo. Okay, it's pretty amazing.
Why not? It's easy
exactly.
and cheap.
Right.
Like I tell my kids, they go, "Did you cut your hair?" I go, "It's tight. Look how tight it is." All right. So so I would imagine, with the residential part and you guys working together, bringing that, numbers and crunching and so forth to the business has probably been helpful too, Mary, right?
Well, I think very, because, again, one of the highlights that I think of this business are, you need your sense of urgency, you need your attention to detail, and you need to know your numbers, whether it's the market or whatever. And, again, coming from that background where it was all about numbers, whether it was profitability or market rates or whatever, I think that's the benefit that both Josh and I come from is we have that focus. It just needs to be fine-tuned to residential. So
that's great. That's great. So tell us, and it's great. It's great when you can show somebody, what properties are appreciating, the tax benefits. A lot of people get that, especially in an area where, let's face it, Josh, I can almost guarantee you're not the only family moving from Los Angeles to the desert. That's a very popular destination. From people, some people from LA are leaving, going to Phoenix, where you come from, Mary, and Las Vegas here. We have a lot of people. And then some people who just won't leave California, they go to the desert when they want to get out of the city. Even San Diego, you guys have, or the Bay. A lot of
Bay Area.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I don't know. When I drive to the desert area, I don't know what it is. It's just a relaxing, you know what I mean? It's you get that good feeling when you're there. So it's a very nice destination to move to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so tell us a little about, all right, so how do you do this? You're number 8 in the desert. That's a very competitive area. How do you guys do that? I mean, give us some insights, some tips.
Well, first off, I just need to say that when Gina asked us if we wanted to take advantage of this opportunity, I had understood her to ask if we wanted to spend 20 minutes in a one-on-one with Rick Berube to talk about how to be more successful. So this is a complete surprise that we're doing this right now.
That Gina is a great salesperson, isn't she? That's great. I love it.
But I think that sort of ties to just how I kind of evolved on my own originally, and now sort of taking it to the next level with Josh is first and foremost is just take advantage of every opportunity to learn, whether it's in an office meeting or going to a CAR meeting or taking a webinar or, thinking we were taking advantage of an opportunity to talk to Rick for 20 minutes this morning. So, that's sort of first and foremost. I also came in the business in a time when, I had the opportunity to do open houses and to see that as a source of business. And of course, Josh hasn't had that advantage yet. But, I think what the other piece is giving something to the prospect or the client. They need to want to work with you. So, again, going back to open houses, somebody goes out on open houses and they're meeting 10 agents in a day. You've got to just come up with something that's going to grab them where they're, saying, wow, we got to work with Mary, whether it's knowing all about Indian land or whether it's being, sensitive to whatever their issues or needs are or whatever. So, I mean, that was a big part of how, we jump-started, at least I jump-started the business here. And then obviously I came with a very large sphere and business network from my prior life, which also provided a jump start. And really from there, everything's been, referral business or building on, the base of people that we've met here in the desert and so forth. To be honest, I haven't done a lot of, calling expireds and door knocking or intense farming. That's certainly something we want to do because, we do want to take this business to the next level. What Josh has brought to it, and I'll let him speak a little bit more, he's brought more, really looking at the net metrics. What's our business? What are our numbers? Where is it coming from? How does that influence what our ongoing business plan is going to be? Et cetera, et cetera. Josh, what's sort of been your experience building into this?
Yeah, sure. So, when I first came on, much to what my mom was getting at, she was running with her business and quite successful. But when I asked, what are the sales? Where are you getting your sales from? What markets are you, doing well in? Where can we improve upon? There was kind of this vague idea of what that was, but, we couldn't really drill down and speak to the specifics. So, I've set up metrics where now we know exactly what our, prices, per average sale price. We know that we're doing X amount of business in Palm Springs versus La Quinta versus Rancho. We know where all of those different buyers are coming from. And so we can kind of break it down. As we set goals for 2021, we could say, okay, we can improve in this market or that market, or we're driving a lot of our business through the website or our marketing efforts, but we're not doing very much through expireds or cold calling. And maybe that's something we want to take up in 2020. How do we do that? So, I kind of created the metrics so we kind of understood what we were as a group, where we excel and where we can improve upon. And I think for 2021, that's going to help us. But getting back to your point, Rick, about what our day-to-day is, I mean, we do have a pipeline that we've established where we have, let's call it 20 leads or 20 active buyers that we're working with at any given time. We have them color coordinated in terms of, how active they are, green being the most, red to they're kind of dabbling, what their price points are. Do we have them on a subscription? If they've, gone quiet, how do we get them back into getting, re-engaging them so they're back and being active again? We have that call, once a week with, we have an assistant that we're working with and hoping to bring on more agents. So, we're kind of in the infancy of organizing ourselves, but, I think that in terms of our, trying to dial in what we are as a real estate group and where we're getting our sales from.
That's such a great, both of you, great job there, because, Mary, when you take that relationship like you're talking about, okay, and working it and giving people a reason to work with you, and then you add in the numbers, like most successful businesses know their numbers, average sale price, average commission, where it's like Josh just went through very eloquently, that when you put those two together, that's when you have massive growth, I've seen. So that's especially... And you're related, mother and son, you guys have both extremely high vested interest in it. That's the recipe to have it catapult for 2021. So speaking of 2021, let's talk about that. What are your goals? No, just so you know, okay, I'm going to announce it today, Paul. Just so you know, I always have a saying for each year. Last year was make more money in 2020, okay? And this year it's getting it done in 2021.
Okay.
I'll have to write that down.
You can use. Well, I do have it copyrighted, but you can use it, Josh. I'm giving you a license right here live on TV. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. So tell us, so you've looked. So Josh, you came into your mother's business and you looked at it and you analyzed it, and which is great. Okay, I call that sourcing. Yep. I call it sourcing. Yep. You sourced out the business. You know how it's operating. Mary, that'd be tremendously eye-opening for you as well.
Yes, right? Absolutely.
So you look at 2021 and you got 12 months. Actually, you got, really 13 and a half if you start now. What is going to be the goal for 2021? What do you think you guys can get done?
Right. Well, I think...
Go ahead.
Well, I think in part, it's always, first economics or what you sort of base your goals on. And, I've always had a theory that 1 and 1 needs to equal 3. So if I'm working by myself and I'm doing X, if I'm going to bring somebody else on, it needs to be 3, not just 2, because of why else would you be doing that? So, obviously to grow the business, but more importantly, and one of the reasons that we are looking at adding people to our team is to build some niche competency and just more resources so that we can better serve our clients. Obviously, having been a one-man band for the first 5 years, especially, as the business was accelerating, I sometimes felt like I was in a batting cage with somebody turning up the speed. And that's not the environment that's productive and that you want to be in. So I think for 2021, it's not just the economic goals, but it's flushing out this structure and the systems we're talking about. Again, adding some resources and some competency so that we can be a little bit more thoughtful about the business.
All right. I love it. Yeah. Sometimes it does feel like you're in a batting cage standing on one leg. Right?
Yeah.
Without a helmet. And they're not coming over their plate. They're coming at you. And if you don't hit them, they hit you. Right?
Exactly.
Swat them away. Right.
Okay. So Josh, Mary gave us which is very good, but now I can tell already that you're the numbers guy. So what do you think Have you thought about put a paper and pencil as to what you think would be good, or an increase, or whatever that may turn out to be? I like your math, by the way. 1 + 1 should always equal 3, Mary.
Yes.
So I think we've had about 60% growth, this year with me coming on from what my Mary's numbers were previously. We'd obviously like to continue to see that. I think we're going to wait to see what happens in this quarter. I think a lot of that, some of that success was obviously market driven by what's happening with low interest rates and people coming out here due to, COVID and other things. But, I certainly think, a 30% growth is reasonable, if not 40%. So,
nice.
I don't really have the actual numbers down yet. I would like to get through, I think, the fourth quarter and then kind of assess what we think we can do. But as Mary said, bringing on new agents that kind of fit core competencies for us, I think are really going to help drive that. And so once we kind of flush out what we think we can do there, I think it's going to help kind of, bring the picture to light a little bit.
So let's just say, for argument's sake, and I'm sure, Mary, I can tell there's some competitive. You guys are competitive too. I can tell. You got some competitive.
Oh, yeah.
So like you're number 8 in the desert right now. Have you said to yourself, hey, maybe we should be number in the desert? Do you have a goal of that?
It's funny you say that. Go ahead.
Well, I have to tell you, I've never watched my numbers. And I love to win. I love the recognition when it comes. But that hasn't been a driving factor. In fact, I was surprised, I guess, when I, heard that announced recently. I just love the idea. Well, one, I love to be busy. I love to be successful. And I love, making clients happy. And of course, I love picking up a commission check. And so that's kind of how I've been going about my business. But this all does bring to light those questions. Okay, where do we want to be next year? And as Josh said, that's probably something that we give more clear thought to over the next, few weeks and so forth.
All right. Well, good. Well, yeah. Once you see it, he hasn't been with you a full 12 months. And once you get all those numbers put together, I think it'll be easier to do a projection. So let's finish on my favorite question I ask. Okay. So if you were doing this again, Mary, Josh, and you've both been in real estate for a while, even though residential is relatively new to one of you and newer to the other, what would be the top 3 things you would tell them to focus on? Let's start with you, Mary.
Well, it's basics. It's all about 101. First and foremost, you just got to get the basics down, no matter how redundant it seems or how boring or whatever. I also think it's important, everybody always says that you wait too long to hire your first assistant. That's probably good advice. I definitely waited too long. I got to a point where I was unorganized and, just kind of a mess. And fortunately, Sydney has kind of brought that together for us. But again, just the basics and not forgetting them. Like I said earlier, there's nothing that substitutes for a sense of urgency and attention to detail.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Mary. How about you, Josh? What would be 1 or 2 things that you would mention?
So, the first thing I would say for being a new agent, and I'm speaking from that perspective, is, find your niche. Find what you think you like in this business. There's millions of different types of avenues you can go. So you have to find a way to separate yourself from the competition and make sure it's something you like and enjoy, because there's, again, a lot of facets you can be in this business. The second thing is find a mentor. Immerse yourself in as much as you can. And when I first came on, I took a transaction coordinator course because I wanted to know all the steps of the process. What am I, once we get the deal done, what happens after that, and how can I better serve my client? So, and then, I'm fortunate that I have Mary as a mentor, but, as my mom, but, things don't have to be scary and challenging if you have somebody that can help guide you and point you in the right direction. It's what we're doing is not rocket science, so having that resource is, of utmost important. And the last thing is just know your market. I know it's, 101 stuff, but we have to serve our clients, and you can't do that without knowing the ins and outs of what you're selling them. So those would kind of be the three things that I would, give advice to any new agent coming in to concentrate.
That's great. Great advice, you two. Okay, I want to thank you both for being on the show today, Facebook Live. Sorry, Mary. And the studio audience goes crazy. Hopefully this was close to a coaching session for you. All right, you guys, I wish you all the success in the world. I'm going to be going to California. I'm going to be in your office actually in 2 weeks. We can only have so many people in versus on the computer. So we'll hope to see you guys soon. You guys are great. Thank you very much for taking your time out. And if you guys decide to go to, 5 or 4, out there, it's okay with me if that's what you decide to do. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for taking your time out today. Really appreciate it. Great stuff. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.